everybody, how are you? I wasn't meant to go live today, it's Kira, but we've had a little bit of a miscommunication with time-wise and different things. I'm trying to see if I can add Kira on, because I'm on an iPad now and Kira's on an iPhone. So I'm just going to see if I can add her on. I have no clue what I'm doing here, okay? So bear with me. Let's see. I can guest request. Allow your viewers to request to join you as a guest in your broadcast. Okay, I'll do that. Karen Duffy's allowed to come on if you want to come on, Karen. I've only got one on at the moment. Let me just see. Karen Duffy's watching. Hi Karen. You're welcome to come on. It's allowing me to let you come on. Karen, is your phone an iPhone that you're watching off now? Or what phone is it, if you don't mind me asking? And I'm waiting for Kira to come on. I don't think she's on yet. And I can see then if I can add Kira on. And today, guys, we have no topic to talk about because we haven't communicated so well today. Let me see. So Karen, forgive me if this doesn't work. I will have to delete it. Hold on 1 second here. 1 second now. Did any of you get washed away with the rain? Was there rain last night? Because I didn't hear one little bit. It was the first night in a very long time that I actually slept like a baby. Yeah, I know. I think we're meant to be getting this storm, aren't we? Or this hurricane. I haven't really watched the news. I try not to watch the news because when you watch the news, it's often just negative stuff. And Kira wants to be on your video. Okay. And I hate watching negative stuff. Kira, I can add you. Woohoo! And they'll receive. Add. Kira, this is the first. Exciting! And nerve-wracking because she's not here beside me to give me some encouragement. Excuse my stickers. I must take them off. I told you about those before. That was from a nursery that I had here. So I'm just sitting on the fence about another child. Or not. I'm not quite sure about that yet. Yeah, so Kira, you've been added there. Oh, hello!
Yes, hi!
How are ya?
Are you on your iPad?
Yeah?
Yoo-hoo! We figured it out!
I know. And the volume is a little bit low. I feel like I have to shout into the phone to you. I hope everybody else can hear us quite well. Hello? Kira's in sunny Spain. I'm in sunny Westport.
Hold on. Hold on.
No nudity.
I've just put headphones in there. Is that better? Nude boobs.
Oh, that's a good idea, Kira.
Yeah. Hang on, I'm all tangled up. Wait a second. You chat away to the ladies and the gentlemen while I figure this out.
I see Tom there behind you and Daisy and the kids. Your resort looks gorgeous and loving all your lovely freckles.
Oh my God, freckles are life.
Did you dye your hair before you went?
No, why?
Oh, no, why? It's lovely.
Why, can you see the grey?
No, it looks kind of red.
Yay! I think it's probably the reflection of my swimsuit. I either want to be a natural redhead or a natural blonde. I'm neither, so you know.
No.
Yeah. Hang on, I'm nearly untangled.
I didn't get on to see what your last video was because I was meant to be on it, you know, an hour earlier. And so what did you talk about? Not that you have to go into the whole gist of it,
but man. Just
what
we talked to yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. We talked about the whole holiday thing. You see, I fucked up, so I went on an hour early. I didn't realize, well, I thought I didn't even look at the time, so I thought 12:30 was 12:30. I didn't realize that the fucking 1 hour time difference. Oh, sorry. So we did the whole holiday thing, but I was so excited for you to come on and talk about your holiday with Lisa.
Oh yeah, but listen, Kira, move the camera more to your left. A bit more. There, perfect.
Okay.
I'm not sure that's a good look.
Why?
Well, because when anybody's lying down, we can like look into your mouth, look up your nose, and anyway, whatever.
Check out my nose hairs.
Nice.
Yeah, but I was hoping to get some sun. Okay, I'll sit up. Okay, so what will we talk about?
Let's
What would
see
you
now.
like to... I wonder if anybody will message and say what they'd like us to talk about.
Yeah. What about, let's see. We could talk about safety with children away on holidays. We could talk about appropriate clothing to wear on holidays.
Yeah, as little as possible. Or we could talk about the amount of stuff that you shouldn't pack when you go away on holidays.
Yeah, that's a fact. God, I feel on the spot now.
I'd love if somebody messaged now, like just sent a message and said, would you talk about something? Because wouldn't it be great to hear from people and see what they wanted us to talk about?
Yeah, true.
It'd be lovely.
Let's see. God, we're totally on the spot here now. We're not very good at this impromptu stuff. Daisy's watching. Hi, Daisy.
She's
Hi, Joan. Kira, I've
yeah.
got a topic that we can talk about.
Okay.
Breakups.
Oh yeah, let's get into it.
Woo! Okay.
Oh my goodness.
So, in regards to breakups, how are you with that, and how do you know when something's over, and how do you know when to finish it, and how do you finish it?
Well, when you find out someone's cheated on you, that's a fairly good
Okay.
indicator.
Well, that's an obvious one, but you know something that people think that they would finish it once they got cheated on, but actually an awful lot of people end up forgiving the person and staying with them. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, 100%. I did. I forgave the person, and I went back twice to the same person. So that was dumb of me, very dumb of me. I think when you're in a really good headspace and it's time for a relationship to break up, then you'll break up and then that'll be it. If you're in a good headspace, if you like yourself and you have respect for yourself and you know you're strong and you understand the concept of love and loving yourself as much as loving somebody else, then when somebody does something that's not right to you or for you, I think you'll walk away and that'll be the end of it. When you're not in a good headspace or you have low self-esteem or you don't love yourself enough or you don't have good self-worth, then you think that that's all you deserve. And you think that the person who said they loved you, now that they're saying it again, means it. And you'll brush everything under the carpet because you want that moment. I know that that's how it was for me, and lots of people who I've spoken to about it would have been the same. And it's very difficult because there's a saying that once you go forward, you shouldn't be going backwards. Like if you've done something once and it hasn't worked out as it should, then move forward, you know, with regards to relationships. And I don't mean throw something away very, very easily. Like, I don't mean that if something isn't working that you should just say and just get rid of it. I mean, if something bad happens, then walking away is the biggest self-respect that you can have for yourself. But it doesn't always happen. What about you? Have you ever been in a relationship where it's been a bad breakup?
Well, firstly, I just want to say, keep the camera a bit to the left, and if you can at all, I know it's difficult, just stop moving, yeah, because you're distorting your face all the time. Now, you have a beautiful face. Woohoo! I have always been in long-term relationships because I'm not very good at breaking up. And I just worry about their feelings and about hurting them and that, and so I probably end up going too far in the distance, and then I end up losing myself and losing who I am in the relationship and just becoming very unhappy. And I think that we can tend to get into a relationship and just day by day kind of happens. And all of a sudden then you're like 6 months into it, a year into it, and it's not really going anywhere. The spark isn't there. And I think that's possibly then when people maybe get a wandering eye and stuff, and they just get interested in other places. So, whether it's, socializing in different circles, maybe not going out for dinner anymore, or meeting each other, and they're staying later at work, or they are just going to different clubs, whether it's tennis, football, badminton, whatever the case may be. They're socializing with different people and finding their fixes there. And the unfortunate thing is then they can end up meeting somebody. So I think that it goes back to an awful lot of stuff that we talk about in our videos, is that if we can always honor ourselves and be true to ourselves in every moment, then I think that we catch it quicker if we're not happy in a relationship. I suppose this too can be relationships with friendships as well. It doesn't just have to be like, say, in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship or a marriage or whatever, But I just think it's awful easy for us to be on one side and say it's disrespectful or it's unkind, or really hurtful for someone to go off and have an affair. But like, unless we have been in that position, we don't really know like the ins and outs. Like, there's three sides to every story, and not everybody should get kind of judged in that, so it's difficult. I know, say, yeah, with me, that's kind of where I'm at with things, in relationships, that I don't speak my truth, and then therefore that's my responsibility in it, and I just play the role of just, happy relationship. Of course, just let me clarify that I'm married and I'm very happily married with my husband, so I'm not talking about now, I'm talking about in the past, and so yeah, then when you do break up with a person, what happens is they don't see it coming, and they're so distraught and can't believe what's happened and why all of a sudden, that's because I wouldn't have been truthful to myself, and I wouldn't probably have been as truthful as I could have been in the relationship to say that, look, I'm not happy, I need my needs to be met too. And I also think it's tricky because I was in one or two very dominant relationships where I was kind of manipulated, and stuff like that. So I lost my voice, I lost my confidence. So it's very hard to speak your truth and to be who you are in a relationship when you have somebody who is, you don't realize, telling you that you don't look good on subliminal messages, and that you shouldn't wear makeup and you shouldn't get dressed up and you're not allowed to have boys' names on your phone and you're not allowed to have these kind of friends, and slowly but surely, as you had said, your confidence kind of knocks in that, and you end up being a shadow of yourself. So you feel that the only thing that you're worth is that toxic person that you're with then and there, unless you get somebody to help you pull you out of that position,
No, 100%. It can be such a crazy thing to be in. Like, obviously lots of people have been in relationships with the wrong person, and the saying goes, you have to kiss a lot of frogs before you find your prince. And I suppose it's how you come back from kissing those frogs. Like, we can tend to lose, like you're saying, lose yourself, completely lose yourself, and it can take such a long time to find yourself again after a breakup, like that you can end up back in the same cycle. So it takes a long time to come out of something and regain your own self-confidence. And in that time, if you meet somebody, you're still not 100% yourself. So you can tend to attract the same type of people over and over again until you learn the lesson. Yeah. And sometimes the best thing to do is stay single. Just be single, stay single for a while until you really feel comfortable in yourself. But I know that people have an awful hard time being single. They feel like they're lonely, or that they're alone, or they mightn't do well and not in a relationship, and so they can jump back into things, and that can be the worst thing you can do.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think if you haven't done the groundwork on yourself when you're single, from a breakup, and you haven't really thought about, okay, well, what was my responsibility in this? How did I let this get so far? What have I contributed to this not working out as best as possible? And not that you're casting blame on yourself, but if you can notice the red flags as to where the relationship wasn't working, or or maybe your personalities just weren't right for each other, and what would be right for you, I think that they're the golden nuggets that make it better in the next relationship going forward. And it is very,
Definitely.
very difficult to kind of come back and do the homework on yourself. Because it does bring
Mm-hmm.
up rawness, it does bring up heartache, it brings up an awful lot of stuff. And I 100% agree with what you're saying, that if you don't do the homework on yourself, if you don't spend that time being single, then you do end up going back into the same relationship again with either that person or somebody else. And they might look
Mm-hmm.
completely different, they might have slightly different characteristics on the outside, but underneath it all, they're actually the same person. It's the same type of personality that you're going for all the time. And sometimes
Yeah.
it comes down to familiarity, that you feel safe in whatever it is that's just after happened in that bad relationship. Whether it's something
Mm-hmm.
that's come from your past, or your dad treated you a certain way, or your brother or whatever, and you don't like it, but it's familiar to you, so it's something safe about it. And that's the toxic nutshell that you need to kind of crack open from, you know?
100%. And that's a good word to use, safety. You feel safe. Even if it's in a shit situation, you feel safe in that shit situation because it's what you know.
Mm.
And and when that's the place that you're operating from, it's never the right place that you're going to find the right person for you. You're
Yeah.
going to find the shit person who's going to give you all the shit things that you think you need because you feel safe in that shit. And you don't know what you don't know either. So like you know inside yourself and you know inside your heart, if you were to listen to your gut, that the thing that you're in is wrong, but you don't know how to get out of it. And it's not until you get out of it and you stay single and you find the right person that you realize all along that when you did the work on yourself and you started to love yourself enough and then you found the right person, it feels so much better. And that's what you deserve all along. Breakups can be great. Like they can be a teacher. And I know you like that for a lot of things. You like saying that things are your biggest teachers. But definitely breaking up with somebody can be the best teacher in the world because you can start to look at yourself. What did I do? Not blaming yourself, because I don't
No.
think that blame should ever come into anything. But you can say, right, what did I do that I could have done better? And then you can detach yourself when you're ready from what they did, and you can say, right, well, what did they do that didn't make me feel good, or what did they do that didn't sit well with me, or how did they speak to me that I didn't like but that I allowed? How did they treat me that I allowed to happen in public or in private? And when you can see all of the picture, the whole picture, and you can see your shadows as well as your light and theirs, you can start to develop a knowledge around the things that you will tolerate and that you won't tolerate, and the things that you like and you don't like, and the things that you want and that you don't want. And then you can start to build yourself an idea of what you'd like in a relationship. And then when you're putting that out into the universe and you're telling yourself that this is now the thing that you know that you want and you deserve, that's the thing that you'll start attracting. But you have to do all of the shit stuff first
Mm.
in order to get to the point that you can attract all of that. And it doesn't have to take forever, but it can take a while. And I think the first thing that you need to do, or that people have to be aware of, is awareness. That there's something wrong to start with. But that in itself can be very hard
Yeah.
when you're stuck in the middle of a crap relationship.
Yeah.
What about the breakup itself? What's been the worst breakup that you've ever had? Like, as in how it was done, where it was done,
Um,
was it a text message? Was
I
it an
think that
email? Was it a phone
um,
call?
well, the funny thing is, it's it's nearly always been me who broke up with people, right? Because
Uh-huh.
obviously I'm so lovely,
You're
But
only bleeding gorgeous.
oh, Jesus Mary. But yeah, I remember my very first love. I was going out with this guy, and I thought everything was going really, really well. I met him on a night out, this particular night, and I knew he was a bit distant with me, and he was kind of laughing and joking with other people, but he wasn't like. He was really, really, really cool with me. Like, you could cut the tension with a knife, and I couldn't understand what was going on. I was asking him, he wasn't saying anything. We were around a lot of his friends at the time. I think, God, was I about 20 years of age at the time? So I hadn't done an awful lot of self development on myself. Well, who has done really at that age? And we were walking down to the good old Castle Court nightclub, and he took me aside and he said, "Look, I want to break up with you." And I was like, "What?" And I thought everything was going really, really fine. And he said he wants to break up with me because what did he say now? Um, how I tried my case or something with his best friend. and I wanted to get with his best friend. And I'm like, who's your best friend? Which one? Like, you know? And anyways, he told me who it was, and I was like, you have got to be kidding me. I never tried anything with him. He tried it with me. He's the one who tried to snog me, and I was like, no. And so he then obviously felt rejected and went and told my boyfriend that I tried to get with him. And he was like, that makes perfect sense because he was telling me this, that, and the other. And I was so heartbroken and I was so upset. So it took me a while to get over that in the relationship, that he completely distrusted me and took his friend's opinion over mine. And yet we were together such a long time. So I felt so hurt and just betrayed, and that he didn't think I could do something like that, you know, because then that made me realize that he didn't really know who I was in that moment. He didn't know who I was at the core, you know. So I really found that very hurtful. And eventually, years went past, and he ended up breaking up with me over something else. His friends had intervened and said that, you know, we shouldn't be in a long-term relationship, that we're so young, and that we should break up, and that we should have met like years down the line and probably would work out then. So he broke up with me for that reason. And I don't mean this out of badness, but he tells me every now and again when I see him that he still has a longing for me to this day. So that was his that was his hardship, and I feel really bad for him in regards to that. And but that's where he took his friend's point of view over his girlfriend's, and that, you know, and that happens probably all the
Yeah.
time.
Silly, silly, silly boy. Yeah, it's a funny one because friends can really get in the middle of things. And if a friend, I had a friend who often used to tell me about a boyfriend about 4 years ago. She was like, "Oh, he's wrong for you. He's not right for you." Okay, as it happened, she was right. But the more please don't tell me my phone died. Are we still on, Thelma?
Yeah. Yes. Not anymore. So while Kira's coming on there, like, have any of you guys been through a bad relationship or are going through a bad relationship? And have you had friends to back you up? Or have you had friends who tore apart your relationship? Sometimes you have friends who actually don't want you to be in a relationship because they want you all to themselves. And if you've gone out for dinner with them, or go to nightclubs with them and that, and all of a sudden now they're the ones who are single and you're the one who's in a relationship, then they might feel, sorry Kira, they might feel that they're jealous of your situation, and that how dare you kind of go off and get into a relationship when, what about me? Who am I going to go off and go to nightclubs with, or go dancing or do whatever? They can end up
Mm-hmm.
sabotaging your relationship because they want you all to themselves. And when you're young, you don't see that. And that's really hard. And the thing about it is that that person that you met when you're young could have been your soulmate, could have been the one that you should have got married to and everything. But your friend sabotaged
Mm-hmm.
it. And
Yeah.
I don't know, did we talk about friendships before? I know we hit on it every now and again. But friends can be great, but friends can be toxic as well, and we don't know.
Oh yeah, for sure. Just before you go on, Tama, just in case my battery dies, everybody will know. But yeah, because I think I've only got 5% and I'm down at the pool. Yeah, breaking up is a funny one. I broke up. I was in a bit of a love triangle when I was 24, and was seeing one guy and decided I needed to go and find myself. So I went off to Portugal to go camping for 4 weeks by myself. And over the course of the 4 weeks, I had a pros and cons diary about the two guys that I was madly in
Move
love
the
with
camera
one,
to the
and
left, Kira. Yeah.
there you go. Sorry. I was madly in love with one, and he had said he wanted to get married and he had introduced me to his family. But then I was also thought I was in love with the other one. And as it turned out, the other one was very toxic. Um, and so I was writing my pros and cons diary because I wanted to make the right decision. And something happened. And the guy who I was madly in love with, who had said he wanted to get married, decided he was in going to Poland instead of Portugal. And I decided to send him an email saying it was him, not me. And that I wanted to break up because I was annoyed that he had chosen to go somewhere else. Fast forward to this year, and I found out why he went to Poland. He went to be with the girl that he was seeing while I was seeing him, and he got married to her. I was like,
Kidding
damn,
me.
no, I only found out this year, and that was when I was 24. So
Oh my
you
goodness.
really don't know. Like, and I wasn't stringing either of them along. I wasn't like seeing I had broken up with them. I wasn't together with either of them. It was a case that I needed to decide who I was going to be with, and that all happened. So it was very funny. As it turned out, they were both the same type of person. They were both very, very different people, but their agenda was very, very similar. So it was really interesting to kind of go through that. Now I'm happily single, and I don't think I'm not in a, I'm in a good headspace for a relationship, but I don't want one just yet.
Yeah.
Um,
But I
because
think
there's so
that
much other stuff.
relationships are a funny thing, because I think that when you're younger, you kind of go for the looks and the cool fella and all the rest of that, and you don't necessarily care too much about what their morals are, you know. And you only kind of looking into that kind of stuff as you get older, and you're thinking that you want maybe a father figure for maybe having kids with or whatever. And I excuse me, I definitely do think that when you get into a relationship, like, they're one of the things that you should look for is, you know, what characteristics are important to you, what morals are important to you, you know, in how they'd be as a dad, a husband, you know, all that kind of stuff. And then futuristically going down the line, because sometimes all people's personalities, you know, changes from time to time. Like, you have your core, but then they change a small bit, so you can become more selfish in your ways or whatever, and old and grouchy, as they say, you know. But
And I think it's also really important to note that, you know, you need to have the same core values as somebody. We can have the very different interests. You can hate what I like in music, and I can hate what you do as your hobby. But if we don't have the same core values and morals, then it's never going to work anyway. Like, if I agree with something and you disagree, if I agree with slapping kids and you disagree with slapping kids, well, we're going to have a massive issue when it comes to parenting, because I'm going to give my kid a slap and you're not. I'm not saying I agree with it. I'm saying that could come up. You know, if you agree with abortion and I don't agree with abortion, then we're going to have a massive issue on that. If you agree that poor people should be helped and I disagree, then we're going to have a massive issue on that. The core values have got to be the same for two people to have a long-term relationship. Everything else outside those core values can be completely different.
Yeah, it's tricky, you see, Kira. Like, when do you bring those up in a relationship? You know, do you bring them up if you bring them up at the beginning of a relationship, they might run for the hills. So I think you have to be in that love factor almost, before you start engaging in that. But yes, that can lead to breakups as well, you know, and that can be a breakup where both of you love each other, but just that your values are different, and then that can be really hard and soul destroying, because you've invested so much time and love into that person. But you're right, your values have to be on the same page, and sometimes we're too far invested long in the relationship, and then we realize, oh shit, our values are so different, and where do we go from here? You know, it's a tricky one, you know.
The minute you hit a bump, everything goes pear-shaped, because you're not singing from the same page in any way, shape, or form. Like, it can be a really, really hard one, but definitely one to watch when you're meeting somebody new, when you're getting to know somebody new.
Yeah. One thing I want to touch on, which is kind of funny, do you know, like, say, when you're single and you're on the prowl or whatever, and you can't really get anybody, you don't get any attention from anybody, right? But yet when you're going out with somebody, you get all the attention in the world. So for any of you guys who are single out there, I think I figured out what happens there. It's because when you are single, right, and you're looking for somebody, you're making yourself out to be this perfect person. And you have this air of desperation about you, and you're trying to look perfect, hold yourself perfect, wear the most perfect clothes, and you don't want to laugh too much, and you just want to be right and just perfect in every shape or form, not dance too much, not wobble yourself around too much, not make an idiot of yourself, and just have this air of perfection. And the funny thing about it is that's so intimidating for any guy or woman or whatever your sex that you're into, to come near you and approach you, because you're unapproachable. Whereas when you're in a relationship, you don't give a fiddler's. You have got your hair whatever way it is, your makeup's whatever it is, you're really belly laughing, you're really enjoying yourself because you're content. And then you attract all these people because they're like, I'd like a piece of that, because oh my god, she's so funny, she doesn't care, she's just herself. And in that's a very good lesson. It's, if you can be yourself as often as you can and speak your truth and just be who you are, I think that it helps in relationships. It helps to get into a relationship. It helps in the transition of a breakup into getting the relationship that you want. It all comes back to honoring yourself, loving yourself, finding out what's really important to you. Because if you can't make yourself happy, and if you don't make yourself happy, don't expect it from someone else, and don't expect it from your partner to make you happy, because that is ruination from the very beginning. Find out what makes you happy, find out what you love, speak your truth, and then go from there. And also, as Kira was saying, You know, you said that you did a list, Kira, of the pros and cons in the relationship. I think that's amazing because a lot of people are visual people. They learn visually. So I think that if you wrote down like, okay, well, Jack would annoyed me when he did this, that, and the other. Well, normally what people annoy you about is what you don't like in yourself, the shadow side that Kira was talking about. But I loved when Jack did this, and I was happy around him when he did this. So find out what makes you happy in a relationship, what really annoys you in the relationship, what annoys you in the relationship. See, can you work on that from yourself? Why do I get annoyed? What does that bring up for me? And go back then to what Kira was saying about the values. And I think that they're the good foundation blocks then to get something that should really work long term.
And everyone across the whole globe should be reading the 5 love languages. I mean, honest to God, if you want a relationship to really blossom, and I harp on about this book all the time, but it's just brilliant. Like, it's a brilliant book. It really teaches people about themselves and others that they're in a relationship with, and how we all really like to be loved and what we appreciate most. And like, that's at the end of the day what it's all about. If it's love, you know, giving it to people and receiving it, and knowing how to do both for the other person's benefit and for your benefit. And we all give and receive love in different ways. So when you understand that about somebody, it makes the whole process so much easier. So that book is amazing. The 5 love languages, and it's by Gary Chapman.
Yeah, we put that in the little comments above.
Yeah,
and
good idea.
There was something else I was going to say to you there. Oh yeah, do you know, like, jealousy is a huge thing in relationships, and I realized the reason why somebody gets jealous in a relationship. Okay, you can tend to be a jealous person naturally, right? But if you're not naturally a jealous person and then you become jealous, I realized, flags it for me sometimes is that when you love somebody so much and you have invested so much into the relationship and you're getting on really well together, I think for me that my radar and my jealousy levels start kind of heightening up a small bit, because I don't want anything to take away what we have, you know. And if I see, you know, the certain predators that come in, the certain women and the way they act and how they're flirtatious and all the rest, I know you have to be self-confident in your relationship as it is, and that he won't be looking and that he's happy in it. But it still can just give you a little bit of a uneasy stomach going, oh my God, I know what this person is at. And, you know, I think it comes down to self-confidence in yourself and self-confidence in the relationship. And something I have learned is, you know, I realize that I always like to be skinny. It's just my thing. I've always been quite skinny. I never had to battle too much with weight. But when I put on weight, I get very self-conscious, right? And then I think that if I'm not looking in such a way, then I think, oh, Damien will notice other women who look different than me and he'll like them more, say, right? This is not all the time. It's every now and again when you hit bumps in a relationship or whatever. But actually, at the moment, I have more curves in me or on me, and I feel actually not too bad about it. And I'm more self-confident in myself. And he's finding that so sexy. I'm not saying me being naked or anything. I mean, he finds it sexy that I am confident in myself, kind of regardless. Do you know what I mean? And so, and I know another friend of mine she tells me that she's put on a power of weight, and her husband couldn't find her any more sexier, because she is just living it, and just, she's like, this is how I am. It may not be forever that I'm going to be this shape, but right now I'm feeling just confident in my own skin. I don't care. And it's that kind of self-assurance that actually I think that they find sexy. I don't know, how do you feel about, Kira? You're tuning out there, or has your phone died? Yeah, so have any of you guys felt that your body shape has changed, or for the good or for the bad? How has that affected your relationship? Has your partner's body shape changed in the way that it was about that person? And I think Kira has gone now, her battery's probably died. So yeah, that was an interesting one for me to notice, that if you can be self-confident in yourself, and that goes back to the homework that myself and Kira has spoke about in the past, about doing work on yourself, you know, that to see what it is that make you happy. It's amazing that when you find out what makes you happy and you really write it down and see what it is, like, is it really about, like, say, being skinny? Is it about looking well all the time? You'll be surprised to find out that a lot of the things that you thought make you happy actually are only superficial stuff. Like, really, the core values and and how you're treated by your loved one makes all the difference. You know, that there's mutual respect, and that and how they are, as Kira has said, with your children, that they will, I suppose, compromise in ways like, you know, you mightn't have the same idea as to how you want to bring up your kids in that, but there should be compromising on both behalves, and that then can help your relationship to grow. That, you know, relationships are all about compromise and wanting the best for the other person, not to knock them down, not to pull them down. I'm just wondering what else about relationships that can be difficult. Um, I think that when in relationships, what can be a tricky one as well is that when your job comes into the factor, where one person could be working late and one person could be working early, and you don't get to see each other that often. What do you do in that instance then? Do you find that that kind of helps in a relationship, or do you find that that actually kind of makes you guys grow apart? Do you have your date nights? Because if these things kind of aren't nurtured, you can grow apart, and then there's a breakup then again, you know. It's not always as easy to break up, and you don't want to break up when you have got children, because you really want to try and keep that relationship cemented. So when you have kids, it does make you kind of sit down and discuss your relationship that bit more, and open the lines of communication where there have been difficulties in it. And that, I know that's not easy, because sometimes one person in the relationship kind of gets heard all the time and the other person's needs don't get met. So how is it that you feel, or do you feel that your needs get met in the relationship? I think it's very, very important, because if you're not heard and your needs aren't met, then it can lead to a breakup as well, you know. Um, and do you fall into the same traps? Do you, like, if do you end up having the same kind of breakups every time when you're in a relationship? Is it the same type of thing that kind of comes up time and time again? Because if it is, there are some red flags that, you know, it's worth having a look at to see how you can change that. And I know that relationships aren't always easy. They're the biggest compromise that you're probably ever going to come across in your life. And it's the same thing with, you know, marriages, everything. Same thing with friendships, whether it's, you know, female friendships, boyfriend, girlfriend friendships, just friendships in general. What are the fundamental things that are important to make a relationship thrive for you? And what are the deal breakers as to why you'd end up finishing a friendship with a friend of yours, or with a boyfriend, or with or in your marriage? I'd love you guys to let me know, and let all of us know, because we've all been through it at some stage or other. It's really difficult to break up with somebody. It's even more difficult when somebody breaks up with you, because you can end up thinking that it was all my fault, or what did I do? Why couldn't I make this work? And constantly giving yourself self-negative talk that it was all your fault. And oftentimes, guys, it's not your fault and you don't realise it, but at the end of the day, it could have been the best gift they've ever given you, was for them to break up. Because a lot of times it's work that they have to do on their themselves too. So for anything to work, I think, as we've discussed this already, that you have to find out what makes you happy. Find out what are your core values. What's important to you in a relationship, and can you compromise on certain things? And if you can't compromise on them, then where do you go from there? You know, is it a conversation that you guys need to have? And yes, respect there has come up. Respect is a huge thing, absolutely a huge thing. I don't think you can have a relationship if you don't have respect. Respect for yourself. It has to start with yourself, number one. Everything starts with yourself, number one. Respect for yourself, respect for them. Trust in yourself. Do you trust yourself? Is that why trust comes up? Is that an issue? Because again, a lot of things that come up that we have for somebody else is because we have it in ourselves. Do we trust ourselves for us then to trust them? There was something else I wanted to say to you there now. It's gone off my head. It's gone off the top of my head now. I'm sorry guys, it's gone off the top of my head. Yeah, can any of you guys tell us, say, when it is the time that you break up, whether you broke up with somebody or they've broken up with you, how do you nurture yourself? How do you mind yourself in that? I mean, really mind yourself. Because after investing so much stuff and so much time and so much of your heart and everything into a relationship, how do you mind yourself when the end has come? And do you throw yourself into work? Do you throw yourself into another relationship? Do you end up eating all the crap that you shouldn't eat, sabotaging yourself? Um, and I think it's important that when you have come from a breakup, that you give yourself time to grieve, because it is a grievance process. Give yourself time to grieve. Try not to take it out on other people because you're going through your own stuff. Be kind to yourself. Nurture yourself. Go do all the things that you didn't allow yourself to do beforehand, whether it's going for like a spa treatment, going for a nice dinner, and have your blowout. Get completely pissed. Go and shift a few lads or a few girls if that's what it is that you want to do. Get it off your chest, you know. But what is it that you do then in moving from that point of grief to maybe sabotage a little bit, and then to moving on into a healthier place? How do you move on to that healthier place that you know, okay, it's time now that I'm ready to come and meet somebody else, and really come at it from a healthy perspective, that you're really in a good place, that you're able to move on now without holding on to any stuff that was in the past. I'm just going to read some of these things here now. Hold on a second. Also, the way you end up a relationship, any type of relationship, friendship, partnership, business, marriage, etc., shows the person you are. Yes, I agree, and I agree and maybe disagree a little bit. It does show the person you are in one sense, but sometimes we don't react very well or act out of a good place when we've really been hurt. We do tend to react badly if we've been hurt, and it not necessarily is who we are at the core. It's just that we may feel rejected, abandoned, not good enough. It brings up an awful lot of stuff for us, that those yucky parts of us that we don't like, it brings that up for us. So it is good, I suppose, to look at that. When you're saying it shows the person that you are, it's good to look at the yucky side that comes up in the end of a relationship that we end up doing. And I think that that's where you find the growth on yourself, and maybe to keep a journal on that and see, you know, as the time goes on, has some of those feelings dissipated? Have you done a bit of work on yourself? I think is a really, really good one. Let me just see here. We've been apart for almost a year and we live together and we are still a happy family. No, sorry, you didn't say happy family, we're still a family. We have been apart for almost a year and we live together and we are still a family. We have never talked bad to each other. Let's see now, see more. To each other or underestimated each other. We work together on my son's best interests. Oh my God. Sia, that is absolutely phenomenal. Phenomenal. Like, that is just incredible. How can you finish your relationship and still be living under the one roof, or still bring out the best in yourself and then bring out the best in themselves, and you to be able to work together for the sake of having children, or just to be mature about things, and to be able to live in the world? Like, I think that's absolutely amazing. I think that to get to that point, not only do you have to do work on yourself, but also I think you have to be a certain stage along for that to happen. I think immediately the emotions are too raw for maybe that to happen. And maybe then maybe a bit of distance is good or whatever. But yes, we do have to show the good sides around our children, because they do pick up on everything and we are their role models. And if we're not acting from a good place, and it can be difficult sometimes, they pick up on that, you know. As we always say, 80% of language is non-verbal, and so yes, of course, why wouldn't our children pick up on that? So well done you, that is absolutely fantastic. Yeah, you focus on studying. We do tend to put our attention and our energy into something else because it can be happy, it can be hard to stay in it, and that's okay for a time. But I just want to say one last thing in finishing up. In a relationship and in a breakup and everything, allow yourself time to grieve. Allow yourself a certain amount of time to grieve. Put a date on it maybe as to when you think enough is enough. So if you think 2 months, okay, I'm going to allow myself to grieve for 2 months, and at that point then I need to turn it around. I need to start like working on myself. I need to start being more healthy, either going to the gym or eating the right food again or going out socializing again or whatever the case may be. You have to turn it around rather than moping in it for over a year and allowing someone to have your power for that at the time and not be the best person that you can be. So give yourself a time limit, turn it around, focus on yourself then, and say, how am I going to be the best person that I can be moving forward? You don't have to get into another relationship, but to be the best person that you can be. And so that other things don't get affected, like your work, your friendships with others, your relationship with yourself, your relationship with family members, whatever the case may be. So I would love to hear from all of you to find out how it works for you in your relationships, how you are in breakups, what are the healthy things that you can do for yourself in a breakup, and what are the bad things that you do as well in a breakup, because we all do that and nobody's perfect. And I know that divorce can be a lot different, but we might leave divorce for another topic on another day because that's a whole topic on itself. Okay? If you have been if you have or are in the middle of a breakup, my heart goes out to you guys. But the best advice I can give you is love yourself in it. Really love yourself in it. Find kindness for yourself in it. And take that time to have the duvet days and to have the Kleenex days and the sad movies, the sad, love movies or the sad songs, and really release all those tears, because releasing the tears and doing all those things is you working yourself through the process of it. And try to find softness in the negative self-talk that we have, and set a date as to when enough is enough. Pick yourself up. You're worth this. Do not give over your power and move on. Okay? I just want to read these last ones. I know what you mean, but being mean does not bring anything. He is the best person and the smartest person I have ever met, and I wish for him only the best. That is amazing, amazing. No, to be mean is not the right outcome. It's not what you want to be. And I totally get what you're saying, but sometimes when we're hurt, we want to dig deep and we want to hit where it hurts. It is not the ideal. It's not healthy, but it's to find softness for the people who have acted in that way. You can end up eventually turn it around, but I suppose it's the best part maybe, Sia, is before we speak, think. And think, is this going to really serve them, and is this really going to serve me? And if you really feel that you're going to say something that's going to really, really affect somebody, because words can be so impacting and they can carry it for the rest of their lives, do I have to say this? And can I just walk away and just not say anything? Just say, look, I'm better off not to say anything because I might say something that I may regret. And if it's something that you still feel down the line that you do want to say, then say it. But you might be able to say it from a different place. A place that doesn't come with the punch that you want to really just make them feel worthless. It could be coming from a place that you can say something that you felt that you weren't met in a certain way and that you're really hurt by that. So guys, I'm going to finish up here. Have a lovely day. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's a very impromptu video call today. It didn't work out initially like the way we thought, and we had no topic at the end. So we found one, and that's breaking up, and we all go through that. And even our youngest children in nursery schools go through little things like that. So it's to love ourselves, find out what makes us happy, and move forward with that. Take care. Have a lovely day, everybody. Thank you.